Hey yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Sammy King, and we are live on the Blessed Creative Podcast. Today, I am joined by some dope company. I got some friends of mine on the live with me, and we are going to be having some guy talk. Today's topic is what do Christian men want? Okay. And joining me on the live today, we got my brother Emmanuel, the graphic designer. Feel me? Got my brother Chris Lilley, singer slash poet slash educator. All right. And then I got my brother Jonathan, motivational speaker slash author, and slash the man of God himself. How y'all doing today, fellas?
Doing good.
I'm here. I made it.
Amen.
Out here on this StreamYard, feel me?
Word. Also, just to be clear, the views and opinions of the men in this chat does not reflect the views and opinions of all Christian men. Mm-hmm. However, they might reflect the views and opinions of a good amount of Christian men, but definitely not all. Okay. Also, full disclosure, most of us are either single or in the dating world, but one of us is married. Our brother Chris, he is the mature one of the group. He put a ring on it. So just so you know, these are not the views and opinions of a bunch of single guys, but there are some married guys in the chat as well. Yeah, so fellas, I'm gonna ask a few questions. We're all just gonna chime in and put our thoughts and opinions in. I got some topics that I want to address, and we're gonna say how we feel about them. And hopefully, someone who's watching might, get a new state of mind off of this chat, male or female, but I'm just going to address certain topics, and so that we can provide the points of view, the male perspective of these topics, because I know there's a lot of assumptions when it comes to some of these questions, right? So first question I got on my list for y'all, right? For us, is as men, what are some general things that would make a woman attractive?
And are you talking about just physical appearance?
Overall, just what would make you want to holler?
I mean, for me, honestly, I'm a psycho. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, for me, is how she carries herself. How she carries herself, how she treats her parents, because that's very, very important for me. And how she is as a person. So that's how I look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I love a woman with a great smile. Like, I love a woman with a great smile. Someone who is someone who just is like perky, but not necessarily like like a little bit like too hyper with energy, but just someone who shows that they have a personality, right? Like they like to have fun. They look like they're fun to be around. And this is something that's not talked about a lot, but I love a woman that could just put her phone down when I'm talking to her. Like, even if we not dating, like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're standing there and we're talking, and every text message that she gets, she pulling out her phone, she's looking. like that's like a little bit of a pet peeve, you know. But if a woman like can put down her electronics, even though she knows her notifications are coming in, that's a sign of respect. You know what I mean? That she's interested, but she just has respect for people's time overall. Those are like small little things that stick out to me in the beginning.
Okay. So I've thought about this because I'm the married one, right? But before I met my wife, I didn't have like a clear picture in my head of what attracted me to somebody versus what didn't. But I knew I wanted somebody thick, okay? But I also knew if we're gonna be real, we're gonna be real. That's what's gonna happen, okay? But I also knew. But I also knew this is what happens when you get married. All of the pretense goes out the window. But I also knew that baseline, she had to love God. Like like if that wasn't there, you know how you have like red flags or whatever. That was the whole thing was red. It wasn't even just the flag. So she had to love God. But then I was also looking for someone who had a strong relationship with her family, specifically her dad, because of previous relationships where I might have gotten blamed for things that happened between her and her dad, and that like relational stuff came over on me. And then I think to add on a little bit based on my wife now, something that I don't think people realize that they need is someone who can lovingly keep you accountable, because we all have like dreams and things that we're looking forward to, or our spiritual life or whatever. And I'll tell you one thing, it is really easy to kind of let things slide when you don't have to answer to anybody, right? But every day I wake up and my wife is looking at me like, what did you write today? And that's so annoying, right? But it pushes me further than if I was doing it by myself, or if even my best friend was texting me like, what did you write? Like my wife is right there showing that she's supporting me, but she's also like, yo, like, let's go. So somebody who also lovingly holds you accountable.
Okay. You guys definitely had answered way deeper than I thought they are going to. But like, from a scale of 1 to 10, right? Like, how important are looks when it comes to attraction? 10?
Well, for me, I would say 8.
Okay.
8.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
I say 7.5.
Okay.
I say 7.5 because once you with the person you're supposed to be with, the Lord will open your eyes, and suddenly all that other stuff that might not have been attractive to you before, all of a sudden you're like, I want to see that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very
No, I'm not. So to be real, I think I would say anywhere from an 8 to an 8.5. Chris, you are definitely, you hit it on the nail, because I remember one relationship in particular. I was like, I'm not attracted to this person at all. And no, it was, I don't know if I woke up on a different side of the head, but you just wake up one day and you like, man, like, she bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like now it's just like, how did I not see this movie? You know,
right.
But yeah, I would say anywhere.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, like I can agree. I mean, like I often say that, like in the beginning, because I've heard people make the argument of that looks don't matter at all. It's all about what's in the person, right? But I've often have fought back with the argument of, in the beginning when I don't know you, you're standing at the corner of the block, I'm walking by, you know, like I don't know like who you are, right? So the first, all that I can go off of is just the appearance, right? And then, you know, I try to get to know you, and then off of what I get to know, I would determine whether I want to, you know, continue pursuing or just turn the corner, you know. But speaking of which, though, like, what are some major turnoffs when it comes to dating for y'all in general?
Well, for me, it's all about you being controlling. That's the one of the turn off for me. Being controlling. That's one of the turn offs. Me personally, I like my free time and like for me to do whatever I gotta do. But if you're constantly controlling me, telling me I can't go here, I can't go there, I'm gonna feel some type of way and probably just be like, yeah, it's not working out. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I would say this is like a deep question, but also like a fun question because you like dive in your past and be like, oh. For me, I would say one of the things that's like a pet peeve, and I put it in my notes, is that I want a woman who is going to hold me to the standards that she holds herself. I want to be equal with that, because it's easy to ask for a high demand for what you want the person that you're with, but not really meet them on that level, and I feel like for me, like that's important. Getting like a realistic look at what you want, what that takes. Like you're gonna meet me on that expectation, and also if you have such high expectations for me, but you don't view yourself as that, then that means anytime you hit under any expectation you might have for yourself, you're gonna assume that I'm gonna pick up slack you should be holding because that's on you. You know, it's like a basic level. Like one example. Remember there was a speaker that was talking about this. It was actually I'm sorry, 50 Cent. It was like a small little clip, and he would say that he never understood why every time his grandfather got paid, he did the whole check to his grandmother. And he said, I never understood that. Like, you're going to give her your whole check. And he said that his grandfather told him that the reason why he did that is because if he's giving her the whole check, she knows how much money that they have. So even if there's something that she wants, she understands like what that's going to take away from, right? So they're essentially like on the same page regarding that. And I feel like if someone really understands that I'm holding myself just as much as accountable as I'm holding you, then that would create clear communication. But that would also help you like make solid goals. That's not necessarily like tearing one person down than the other. Because if you're together, you're a team. But you're not gonna be a team if you don't have a level of understanding between one another.
Word, bro. Like you can made a point, and I definitely agree with it. About holding yourself to the same standard as you're holding the other person. I think as men, we definitely often deal with a double standard at times. I think oftentimes, like we're expected to, always, meet the standard, whether like it's financially or whatever the situation is. Like we are often put in a situation where we have to constantly try to make her happy, right? Make sure that she's good, make sure that she's feeling loved, make sure that that she's getting what she wants, which comes into the provider title. But there are also a lot of men, not every relationship, but there are like some relationships where, you know, it is kind of one-sided, where she does get everything that she wants and the dude is constantly sacrificing to make sure that she's good, and then, you know, he's hiding his pain, and she's 50 and still looking young, while he's 50, he looking old as hell. Right? But yeah, but that's something that's like, you know, an off for me. But Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, selfishness.
Okay.
Can't be selfish. Especially whether you're dating or married, y'all are a team. And if you're only worried about you and I'm worried about both of us, then I'm gonna be tired. So selfishness for sure.
Big facts, bro. Big facts. Also, you know, when it comes to, you know, like for me, when it comes to the turn-offs, you know, again, when it comes to getting to know her personality, you know, I'm also a fan of trying to see who she is around her friends, and maybe family, you know, which is why when I ask for, you know, and I hand her my phone to, you know, exchange contact, you know, I usually ask for the Instagram or the socials, right? I don't want the number, I want the socials. So I'll go in the socials real quick, and then, you know, because like I feel like people tend to, you know, highlight a side of them on social media, like even if you claim like, oh no, this is not really mean, I just thought that meme was funny. I'm like, you know, there's still like a part of you that might, you know, kind of agree with this. Or if I go on her socials, and, you know, certain posts that she put up, like, where like I've had girls in the past who I thought were super attractive, right? Like bad, right? And I go onto the social media and I just feel like I'm seeing a whole bunch of thirst traps, you know, just up, like, you know, like she claims that she, you know, believes in, you know, God. She got the Proverbs on her bio, right? But you know that, you know, she got the, you know, on the mirror, you know what I mean? She got the you know, some photos that definitely arouse a part of me in the midnight hour that I don't want to arouse. And I just feel like, you know, I just feel like, you know, if I get into the situation, I don't feel like she's mature enough to, you know, if my engine starts to run, I don't think she's mature enough to like, hey, whoa, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm a jealous dude, so, you know, I don't want to, you know, be up in people's comments like, yo, why you my girls? You know what I mean? What's up, bro?
Bro, before you move on, first of all, before we move on, don't ever talk about the midnight hour again, you fool. All right. But the second thing that you kind of hit on that what I think is really important is that consistency piece. Like, we're speaking about what Christian, like from the perspective of Christian men. So just like you said, like, okay, I'll give you an example. I dated this girl for 2 weeks, so terrible 2 weeks, and I met her in church, and then she like went to school, and like we were chatting or whatever, and then she sent me this video. The video was fine, nothing happened, right? But I was like, that was a weird video, and she's like, yeah, I was drunk or high at the time, and I'm like, so whose pastor do I call? Do I call yours? Do I call your mama's? But that was a huge turnoff because the consistency that she showed, like it was non-existent. And if like the relationship with God is supposed to be the strongest relationship out of all of them. So if there's inconsistency here, then how is there going to be consistency this way with somebody that you can't see? Right. So that was a good point too, bro.
Word, bro. And like, speaking of which, right? How, like, once we've, you know, found somebody who is consistent, or I think, you know what? Let me rephrase it. Let me tax it. Like, what, as men, what makes us want to pursue one, and part two, um how early do you begin to talk about marriage, since as Christians that is the ultimate goal, right?
I'm gonna start since I'm married and I've gone through this already. Um, so I first of all, I was tired of dating, so like I was ready to settle down anyway, so that also had something to do with it. But once I realized I found someone who exceeded the expectations that I prayed for, it was like, all right, that's I'm not gonna let her go, right? Like I knew that I wanted her to be someone who loved Jesus. I knew I wanted her to be thick. I already said that, right? I knew I wanted strong family connection, right? What I didn't know I wanted was somebody who was the other thing I said, supportive with the accountability and all of that stuff. So like I'm sure that we all have some kind of list in our head of things that we want to see in a partner, but as we're praying about that, God will be like, all right, here's somebody who's that plus some other stuff, right? And then for us, it's gonna be like, oh, all right, at least that's what it was for me. And then because me and my wife are a year apart. I'm 29. I'm an old man. I'm 29, and when we started talking, it was like, I'm gonna just be real. This is when we met. It was like, I'm not saying we're gonna get married, but that's the purpose of why I'm dating. Because I also think that if that conversation actually isn't had early, not putting pressure on each other to get married, but at least saying, this is something that's on my mind. Long-term commitment is something that's on my mind in case this works out. If that expectation isn't clear, then there's so much room for miscommunication and for heartbreak further down the line when one person finds out that the other isn't down for the long-term commitment, or it doesn't believe in marriage. So I say at least mention it at the top of the conversation. Maybe not you met them. Hi, my name is Sammy. I want to get married, right? But like tomorrow. But one of those early conversations has to be like, what do you actually view the purpose of dating as? Do you view it as a road to marriage? Are you just dating to have fun? Because this is what I believe. And then you'll keep yourself from the heartbreak later.
Word. Yeah, bro. I mean, I agree with what you said. Because so for me, it's like, I feel like me being the young man that I am, right? I'm 24, right? I'm fresh out of college, right? For me, I'm in no rush to get married at all, right? Like I'm chilling, I'm focused on trying to get my money up, right? I'm trying to my credit score just went up a bit, trying to get it up even higher, right? I passed my goal, but I'm trying to get it even higher. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my investment portfolio. Like I'm in the mindset of, I want, by the time that I do get married, I'm coming with packages, right? Like this, like you just went from the free trial, baby, to like the premium package, right? But yeah, like I'm in no rush to get married. I'm working on myself. I got some personal issues that I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to reset myself full and whole, right? But I am in the dating pool, right? And I am, talking and getting to know folks. But when I find somebody that I am interested in, I make it known that like my goal is to get married, right? But I feel like I make it known that I'm not gonna try to get married like tomorrow, just so you know. Right? And I've had some moments in the past where I've dated some more mature women, right, who were closer to that line than I was, right? I remember I was like maybe like in the middle of college, right? And I was talking to a girl, and that was like in her mid to 20s, and she she laid her attention. She said, I'm definitely trying to get married like in the next year or two. And I'm just like, I'm trying to graduate in the next year or two, right? So that made me want to back up a bit, because I felt like, I felt like she was an amazing young woman. She still is. I just feel like I couldn't give her what she needed or wanted, even if she couldn't see in the moment. But I definitely feel like that conversation needs to be had. So that way you don't end up in a situation where, I know a girl who she was with a dude for like 9 years, and he never proposed. You know what I'm saying? Of course, it came to an end. It didn't last. But it having that conversation up front definitely like helps you guys to know what destination that you guys are going, and especially like as men, we are known to be leaders, and we often like to embrace that title of leadership, and we often want her to follow us, but she gotta know where she going. This is 2021, and these girls, they be wanting to know, where we going, like where we going. But does anybody else have any opinions, or we can just move on?
Yeah, I can say
Yeah.
some
So
stuff.
with me,
Oh, go ahead, Emmanuel.
yeah. So I
It's
was
a
saying
homework
with
station.
me. So piggybacking off what Sam said, so I've been in situations like that where I would say for me, I told a couple of my female friends that we went out to eat and stuff like that, I wanted to like wait until I was like 35 or 36 to get married, because I feel like right now the way I am, it's like I have like a lot of work I need to do on myself and on my business as well. So like once I get over that hump of what I'm going through and get my business up and running the way I wanted to get it up and running, then we can talk about marriage. But until then, it's like I'm fine. I'm fine with just like dating, exploring. You know, so some of them agree with it, and some of them don't. So you know that's how I feel.
Word.
So, 3 questions, right? And this is
Uh-huh.
something straight out of the gate that is important to ask. That I actually got from Devon Franklin, that you should be asking in the future, right? Because if you're a believer, it's either gonna go one or two ways. And Chris touched on this. It's either we going all the way tonight, me and you, after this movie. We could watch Space Jam, and
To the moon.
you know what I mean, go into a little world of our own, or what I mean, you're building things up to actually pursue her, to court her to be your wife. So here's 3 questions, right? The first one is, where are you going? Like, what exactly do you want to do, right? Where exactly do you see yourself regarding your career? What are you working on? What you're doing now related to where you want to go? Like, just tell me everything, right? Then there's, what do you see for your life? Like, a lot of women won't necessarily admit to this, not all women, but um they think about everything. Like, how many kids, where you want to live, how big you want the ring to be. Like, it's just everything from the small to the big, So it's just, what do you see for your life? And the third one is, what do you think about me and you? And I think that's important, because it's like, you're looking at the other person that you just started to talk to. Obviously, if you don't know them, what's on the surface is what you see. So Chris, you wanted a nice thick woman, and you got it. You got it and more. You know what I mean? You live in
Feel
the
me?
like, um, so it's like, before you even get to know her, before you even know her name, that's what you see. You're not. It has to start somewhere. So unless you could read her mind, but what do you see? You know, like what comes up when you look at me? You know, after we spoke about a couple conversations, what was your first impression when you heard me open my mouth? And also that last part is like, what do you think about you? Um, since we're all on, you know, a panel discussion, I'll be transparent. So, and the last person that I was pursuing, one of the things that I kind of fell in love with was the fact that she was super supportive of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I'm telling you, like, you could be like, yo, I got an event tonight, 10 p.m. Tell her like 2 hours in advance. She gonna find a way to get there. You know what I mean? Like, she was just the most supportive person I've ever seen. To me, that was attractive because more than anything, it was like you got a woman who like is super supportive, who just loves people and just has a positive attitude. Like, you want that energy around you. But sometimes you know, Denzel said this in a quote. He said if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're eventually gonna get your hair cut. And I say that is like you hang around somebody long enough, you eventually really get to see how they view themselves. And I realize is that that person was so good at giving who they were to other people, but were in complete shambles when it kind of came to themselves. You know, so the self-esteem oh when they got beat up by trials and difficulties in life, and how somebody views themselves is very important and vital to you communicating with that person, because if they don't view themselves to a high standard, then the moment they start struggling, they're going to expect you to pick up that second load. And it's not about necessarily finding the right perfect person, you know, because nobody's perfect, but it's like when you're struggling, where are you going? Like if you're really struggling with something, like for instance, Sammy, you touched on like being, you know, being a little bit jealous. I'm a little jealous too, and you know, I got a little bit of a you know what I mean, like anger problem at times. But it's like, what am I doing to take care of that? Okay, I got okay, when I feel that way, I break away and I have my me time. I do something that makes me happy, makes me smile. Like there's certain things that I'm doing. But if you're not necessarily looking at yourself in a high point, then you're only gonna be your best version when you're around other people. So when you're with someone else, you're not trying to be there for that person because you're with that person. So now you turn the camera around and you like, no, now it's my turn to get fed. And it's like, you know, how much is too much when it comes to really taking on the burdens of somebody else. So those three questions: where are you going? What do you see for your life? What do you think about me? And what do you think about yourself? Once you get all of that, and whether you got to come with a notepad, open up iCloud, G Notes, whatever it is, like you get those answers, and eventually, you know, time will tell in terms of you making a decision based on discernment to put yourself in a position where you really understand what you're getting yourself into before you get into it.
Word. No, bro. So first of all, like two things that we're in clap for real. The pastor spoke. Um, but two things that that you definitely had touched base on that I really, really want to dig root in is one, like the support that you that you mentioned, right? I feel like that's super important. I feel like I'm an artist, so I need support in any way that I can get it, you know. Or I mean, and not just artists, like, but just like artists, entrepreneurs, any man that is clearly taking a risk in what he's doing. Like he needs that support system because he needs that safe space, right? And then, and the second thing that you had just mentioned briefly was the part where you said that the girl that you were pursuing, how she was a mess when it came to herself, right? I feel like it's super important that that we definitely, one, clean our closets, right? And then two, we work on ourselves, right? Like we work on ourselves, both male and female. We work on ourselves to make sure that we're presenting a good product to the person that's going to be buying in, right? Like oftentimes we present our best selves in the beginning, and then our true self begin to like pop up. For me, self-confidence is a major thing for me, bro. I've dated multiple girls who care so much about other people's opinions, and it'll just get on my nerves because I'm like the opposite. I'm a free spirit. I'm like, all I care about is about what we think. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to change who I am just to impress your friends. You know what I mean? Like, if you like me for who I am, then your friends should like me for who I am too, right? And secondly, like, the self-confidence part is a big thing for me because like I feel like so many women are insecure, and it might never be their fault. Like society plays a role in that time. There's exterior reasons why they could be insecure, but I think a lot of women, like, they look at their men to constantly validate them, right? That they're pretty, that they're smart, that they're this, they're that, and I'm just like, bruh, like, I can only big you up so much, like you, like, your true joy comes from when how you feel about yourself, right? Because at some point I am going to let you down, right? Like if you're constantly looking at me to validate you, then I might say or do something that you don't like, and then you just fall off the wagon, quick, and now you want to blame me. Ain't got nothing to do with me, right? Like I often say, and I might sound like a jerk, but if shorty asks me if this dress for me look fat, I'm gonna tell the truth. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because in a way I feel like I'm holding her accountable, right? I mean, because if you said you won't go to the gym and you ain't go yet, that ain't my fault, right? No, but honestly though, I feel like the self-confidence, like she gotta have that for me, bro. Like when she walks with her head up high on her shoulders, it's like, baby. But next question though, I wanted to ask, how do we feel? And maybe Chris could probably touch base on this too, because he's a married one. But how do we feel about gender roles in relationships?
I feel like that needs definition. Like when we're talking about gender roles. Mm-hmm. So, because for some people, gender roles is I go out and I'm working, Valerie's staying home and taking care of the house, or it's I do all the heavy lifting and Valerie does the cooking and cleaning, or it's I know that money was a question that we would eventually get to, but I'm supposed to be the breadwinner and she should have some little job on the side. But I think that the only role that should be specific to each person is whatever role was specified in the Word of God. Like, and here's what I mean. Valerie hates cleaning the bathroom, so I clean the bathroom because that's my wife and I'm completely devoted to her and it needs to get done. I hate doing the dishes, and so she does the dishes because it needs to get done. She's not doing the dishes because she's the wife. She's doing the dishes because they need to get done, and she's doing it as an act of love and an act of partnership with me moving forward. I think that for some things, gender roles get really dicey and they're low key. I don't only want to use the word misogynistic, but they don't really have a. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and it's not as serious as some people are making it out to be. Specifically, the ones who want to adhere to the gender roles. I think that so. Coming from the married person, now I'm talking about like household chores and budgeting and all of that. Before we got married in premarital counseling, we talked and it's like, what's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? You're good at big picture stuff. Great. So you can cast that vision for the future and we'll both pray about it and I'll come alongside you. Oh, you're terrible at details. Like what we need to buy for the grocery. I'm going to make that grocery list. And we go back and forth and we figure that out. Because if, let's say, for instance, we adhere to those gender roles, and for some reason, Valerie's just terrible at laundry, then we're going to go through our whole lives with her still just it not being her strength. and then I end up blaming her or bitter or whatever. And I know laundry is a small thing, but think about it. You're working at a weakness that isn't as good as it could be, right? And we live together and we keep going, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, you've never done it right. And then it becomes an issue because even though I'm stronger at that thing, that's a woman's job, right? So I think that for some things, like the actual actions that happen in the house, like that's a non-issue. But when it comes to things like especially the spiritual aspects of things, like I'm looking to the word of God for that. And also the Bible doesn't say, ladies, thou shalt do the laundry, and men, thou shalt lift heavy objects, right?
It don't?
Nah, I don't. Let me check. I'm in Ephesians right now. I'm not kidding. And I didn't see that.
I know the chapter. It's the book of Hezekiah, chapter 6, verse 2.
Oh
Man,
my God.
like, and I think that before I give it off to the other gentleman, I think that for me, one of the things that I've had to do is, in a heart of humility, do those things that have been traditionally the woman's job in the house. I don't have a problem doing laundry. I don't have a problem I'm a better cook than my wife. Okay, just throw that out there, right? I don't have a problem cleaning the whole house, while she's in the room working, since I'm on summer vacation. I'm just sitting here working on my music, working on artistic stuff, but I'm basically sitting here not doing anything for the summer. How crazy would it look if me, someone who says that he's a servant of the Most High God, is sitting and letting his wife not just do work during the day, but not doing anything to take care of the thing that God blessed me with? That would be crazy. So that's a conversation that you and your spouse, or you and your girlfriend or significant other have, because there are some things that are in the Word of God. It's like, this is what you do, this is what you do. And then there are a lot of things that it's like, is this your strengths? So then you do this. Is this not your strengths? So then I'll do it if it's my strengths.
100, bro. Just straight facts. Straight facts from Pops. Anybody else? Or
Yeah, I would say my biggest weakness for me is basically just cleaning the bathrooms. I struggle with that. But my strengths are like washing dishes, mowing the lawn, sweeping. Yeah, that's basically it. And laundry too. Laundry.
Yeah. Word, but where? Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not much of a cook. I mean, I'll be friend like I am. You feel me? I'll be putting up with the Ramon. Feel me? I got the Ramon who knows. You know what I'm saying? I pull up, pop that in the water. I just stir it real quick, shorty. You feel me? But I do like to clean though. You know what I'm saying? But like Chris was saying, I definitely agree with the whole, figuring out like whose strength is what, right? I might be better at certain things than she is. She might be better at certain things than I am. I often feel like, men and women, I know that there's like the ideology of, men and women can do the same exact things, right? But even if we can do the same exact things, I feel like we often can do them in different ways. Because, as a guy, I think a certain way, I see things a certain way, so I'm good at this and whatnot, right? And then you as a woman, you see certain things it in a certain way, right? I know that women are compassionate, right? Which often will make them great parents, right? Because when Zach falls, she's ready to, like hold him and cater him. Well, I know, and the father, like as men, we're often, like harder in spirit. So like we can often, our personalities can help the kid be like, okay, yes, you fell, but can you get back up, right? Both are needed. Both are very much needed, right? But like Chris has said, when it comes to the roles, it gotta make sense for your gender, right? Because the next thing I wanted to ask was, how do we feel about the woman earning more money, right? Because you might be trying to make a housewife out your girl, and your girl is a CEO of a thriving business. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how you feel about her making more money?
I would touch on that. I would say honestly, it comes back to understanding, right? Because early on in the beginning of the word, obviously, Adam was created first. And I was thinking about this today, right? Adam was created first. God knew even before Adam was going and naming all the animals and the livestock, God knew that like he wasn't gonna find a suitable partner. Like, let's keep it real. God knew he wasn't gonna find a suitable partner. So he could have created her at the same time he created Adam, or before Adam did anything, did any of his work, put him back to sleep, and was like, I know exactly what you need, made woman, and then they named everything together, right? But it didn't happen that way. He created Adam. Adam did his job. He took on his responsibility, and after that, God gifted Adam, right? His Eve, his lady, and I think that if your woman is earning more than you, I think it's okay if you guys build a basic understanding of like, this is just taking care of what we need. I think if she keeps the same level of respect that was given to man in the beginning, then there's no problem. But if she's like getting the money and she's like, okay, you know what? You make 50, I make 75,000. This is how it's gonna go. And she is like trying to be dominant over you, then that's a problem, right? Because just because you make more money, it doesn't mean that you're taking over the reins. God still called man to be leader and a woman to be submissive. And not to kind of like change the subject, but sometimes that could be touchy, I know, for some couples and even for some women, because even when they hear submission, they're like, oh, so he's supposed to tell me everything, and then I can't say nothing, and he tell me when to speak and tell me when to walk. Like no, it's just more so it's like keeping that level of respect that was given to man, because Adam was given authority. You know, Eve, Eve, respected that authority that was given because it was first given to man. It could have went either way. He could have created woman first and then man second, but he didn't do that. So I think as long as she has that level of respect, as knowing that even though I make more money, this is still my man. This is still the leader of this household. This is still, the breadwinner. I'm just in a position where I could really help us drive in our goals and the businesses and the things we're trying to do. But if she's not letting that money soak up her character to the point to where she's like, I got this, I'm big boss, I'm top dog, then I feel like that's okay. Because the money is just helping the plans that you guys establish. But as long as it's not penetrating your character, that is making you feel like you need to reign dominance and strip me of the authority that God has given me, and taking you completely out of the role that God allowed women to be as helper, then we're okay. So
Word.
I'm sorry. I know I went I went in.
Yeah, you good, but you good. Yo, E, I thought I heard you say something.
Yeah, I just said it, man. Well said. That was a
Okay.
good thing. Well said, man.
No, yeah, bro. I mean, Chris, you seem kind of,
I'm so okay.
Okay.
Can you remind me what question we're answering right now? This is the one about the money?
Yes, about like how you
Okay.
feel about the woman making more bread.
I'm a teacher. I teach second grade, and I'm a artist. I'm a singer and a songwriter and a poet. My wife is going to get her doctorate eventually in psychology.
Okay.
So if I gotta be okay with it, because like we're already married, right?
Right.
But I'm gonna derail us just for a second because Jonathan brought up a big thing when it came to talking about submission. First
Okay.
of all, the word submission has been ruined by the Big C Church. It's been ruined, and it's been abused, and it's terrible. And since being married, I've had to read Ephesians 5. That's the one that says, wives, submit to your husbands. That helps. I've had to read it many times because I have to. I'm a husband. What I never noticed was right before it talks about the wives is that the verse right before it talks about submitting to each other as reverence to Christ. So the very, like, verse 22 is wives, submit to your husbands. But verse 21 says, submit to one another out of reverence for the Lord, right? So it gives a picture of what wives submitting to the husbands look like. But what does husbands submitting to wives look like? It looks like loving your wife the way that Christ loved the church. And how did Christ love? He loved through sacrifice, right? He loved through what it says that Christ loved by washing by the cleansing of God's word, right? So I'm of the mindset that a lot of this really, really boils down to, is your relationship with God maturing? Like, what does this look like? Because yeah, you have to still actively work on those things that might not be strengths for you, like selfishness or compassion or being detail oriented. But at the baseline, if you are a Bible believing Christian, if you think that if you believe the grave is empty, if you believe that like the Bible says what it says and that this is the instruction that God has given us, then that means that like this scripture turns into, oh, so this is mad convicting for me because my wife isn't just supposed to listen to what I'm saying, right? Whether or not she makes less or more money than me. Like, this doesn't just mean what I say goes, because she's not just submitting to me, but she's submitting to me in these instances as reverence to Christ. And even though I am the head, or I'm the person who is maybe casting vision for our family, her responsibility is actually to God and God alone. Right. And then on the flip side, as a husband, even as a boyfriend, because sometimes those responsibilities come up a little bit in those dating relationships. It's like, all right, so I'm going to have to love you. And by loving you, I'm going to have to sacrifice for you. What does sacrifice mean? It means I get off of work at 5. I'm tired. You want to meet up at 6. I'm not going to do that every day, but I'm going to do it today. You know I'm tired, but I care so much about you. I love you so much that I'm going to show you a visible sacrifice to show that I'm actually giving you this gift of something that shows you that I'm choosing to love you. And that's the way that submission goes back and forth. And by doing that, we are ultimately submitting to the Lord. So that way, we're looking at the relationship that's going like this and seeing how it affects the relationship that's going this way. And I think that's a huge part of it. So sorry, we talked about submission, even though it was a question about money. Hope I didn't ruin it.
No, actually, it actually had led to my next question, which was about submission. So it was perfect. It was perfect, right? It was perfect. I mean, like, you guys made a lot of valid points. I definitely was going to talk about, us submitting to each other, and loving each other, like me personally, because like you said, bro, wives, submit to your husbands, and love for your wives at Christ, the church. Like, he died for the church, right? Are you willing to die for her, right? Are you willing, if push comes to shove, right? And some dudes, and I pray that this is never me. If a gun comes out, right? If a gun comes out, dude's first instinct is to, right? But are you going to cover her when the gun comes out, right? I grew up in the hood, and guns come out often, right? Are you gonna make sure that she's good? Like, I've had some moments in the past where, I'm in a dating phase, or no, I was in the boyfriend and girlfriend phase. I was broke, right? Like freshman in college, I'm busting tables for like $6 an hour. True story. And I only got like $5 to $10 left on my checking account. She hungry, and church done. She hungry, right? And 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 she asked for me to get her something to eat, right? And my first thought was, your parents is in the church. Like, you could go to them, right? But also, like in the moment, I was just like, she's my girl. I want to, show that in the future I'm willing to, sacrifice, for her, and and I spent my last $5 to $10 on making sure that she ate for the night, right? It was painful to do, but which is probably why it's a sacrifice, right? But I highly do believe that, how are we supposed to expect our women to submit to us if we are not willing to, sacrifice and die for them, right? And the same vice versa for women who are listening. You know, how are you expecting me to sacrifice and die for you if you're not worth dying for, right? Um, so yeah. But I'm gonna just get into the last question because we're crunching in on time. We actually went over time, so I'm gonna just ask my last and final question, right? And then we can wrap up. I saved this question for last, right? I think it's a big question. Um, it might even be a two-part question, but what are some things that a lot of guys go through, but that aren't talked about often? And I ask that question because oftentimes I think women are they feel like they want to know more about us, and they feel like they don't know us enough. They feel like we hide things, we shelter things, and sometimes when they find out certain things about us, their immediate reaction is probably like the wrong reaction. That they know that we've been going through this and whatnot. So what are some things that a lot of men tend to go through, but that aren't talked about often?
Well, I would say just family issues, just like having a relationship like with the dad. If the dad wasn't there in their life, um, they would have issues talking about that. Um, yeah,
Okay, like past traumas and whatnot.
yeah, past trauma,
Um,
past trauma.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I would say a couple things. One is that when it when it comes down to that type of pressure, I think that for a man, one of the things that gets kind of frustrating is just as you're healing from past things. We always hear growing up that it's like, oh, move on from this loved one that died, move on from this past relationship, move on from this job, move on from this person, from this ex-friend, right? But you never, and I heard this in a sermon yesterday, you never move on from someone, you move with, because we are incapable of erasing any past experiences that we dealt with in life, right? This is not like a Men in Black, like I did that and I just wiped every memory you had with this friend, with this family member, with this last relationship. Like there's a healing that takes place. And I think that in everything that we went through, like there are triggers that men face that is still tough. I didn't grow up with my father.
Mm-hmm.
So there were certain parts in my last relationship where I kind of felt stuck, because this is that place where I wish I could turn around and say, Dad, help me out.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, I mean, scrambled away and gambled, money that's supposed to be rent money, and pretty much just like, I mean, if a song was his life, it would be Papa was a Rolling Stone. Like, so it's just that's a constant like healing, that I need to go through, because each man has a trigger, and I think that for women it's important like to note that, because I feel like even a lot of times in relationships, right, a woman can have an ideal plan on what she wants for the relationship, but as it pertains to the relationship, it's like some women get what they're asking for, but because it doesn't look how they thought that it would be, now they don't want it no more.
Mm.
And for a lot of men, we face the pressure of trying to always fix what you want, but still kind of make it work for me. Like, it's a lot of pressure as a man. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I love you. Yes, I'll sacrifice. I'll do anything for you. But I feel like, and obviously this is my opinion, but I feel like for many women, there's always a time thing. You always hear time. I get married by this time, or ask you this question by this time, or do this by this. Like, it's a lot of pressure, and it's, as a man, especially as a believing man, it's like, if I love you and I've been with you for a while, of course I want to make you my wife. But
Mm-hmm.
understand, for me, I'm less about time and more about preparation. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I give you that year, 2 year window that you got, but now we not prepared and we struggling and failing in a marriage that just started, then then what's the point? But it's the constant like changing of things, right? Because it's just like, it's not just like y'all in a relationship, you say you're gonna give her this and then that's it. No, because then she starts seeing friends who just got married, or friends who went on vacation or did this and that. Like, so it's a constant like pressure, I think, for men, because you always hold the weight of the responsibility. Like, a relationship is more than just, I'm taking you out to dinner, I'm taking you out to lunch. It's like, nah, how was your day? Where are you at spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally? I gotta constantly keep tabs, but also like have a solid foundation of a future. And I feel like that's not talked about enough, most of the problems on the surface, which is why how a lot of men, like, it looks good on the outward appearance, but in the inside, like, you breaking down. You know what I mean? And I know for me personally, whenever I got to the point where I was like shutting down because of all the pressure, it got to the point to where like I needed to find something as a scapegoat. You know what I mean? To get away from how I was feeling, and those things became detrimental to my relationship. So I think it's being aware, and even if you're not aware, like, ask questions. You know what I mean? Don't ever get too comfortable. And this is a message for my ladies. Like, don't ever get too comfortable, like thinking like something is always good, with your man. Like, I used to hear this growing up. They said, if and my friend would tell me this too, in the past. He said that if my relationship ever got to a point where there's been a period of time where everything just feels good, like there's no problem, he said he would sit back and be like, this feels good, but this feels a little bit too good. Which just means it's like, if it feels a little too good, a little too comfortable, there's something there, because we're human. We experience things. If you're not upset today, you might have an experience tomorrow that awakens and triggers some emotion. So it's the constant check-in. Don't assume ass, even if you know ass, like, because you be surprised on what you know. And the more you understand the person, and then the more you get a key for their triggers, you're more um you're more like in tune with that, but you're also more sensitive to what that is, because no matter how masculine a man can be, no matter how protective he can be, at the end of the day, every man got the little soft marshmallow part inside of them that, if poked, what I mean,
Well,
we
marshmallow.
huh yeah.
You going, bro?
No,
Keep
no.
going.
But that's pretty much like my closing statement. But that's important. It's important for men to lament. It's important for men to open up. but some men really need that extra, you know what I mean, like that extra touch. Like I work with kids, you know, and I know for a lot of them it's not just standing in front of them and just having a conversation. Like you got to take them out of the classroom. You got to like kneel down on like one leg, look them straight in the eye, tell them this is just between me and you, and then they get comfortable. You know what I mean? And for other relationships, it could just be we standing face to face, but it's learn the functions, learn the triggers, learn your man. You know what I mean? Learn the relationship, and just be sensitive to that. Be patient. You know, and know that between anything, like the more you ask, and this is the last thing I'll say, like for my ladies, it's like the more you ask, the more you ask of a man and you want him to do, you need to have a new set of patience, a new set of understanding, a new set of sensitivity. Because when you ask for more, there's going to be more that is on his shoulders, and it's going to trigger and rough up a lot of the things that we deal with as men, because we want to, you know what I mean, we want to make our ladies proud. We want the marriage to work. We want the relationship to work, you know. So whatever you're asking for, give them more grace, give them more patience. Because if you set them up the right way, you'll get everything you want and more. But you'll also have something that's healthy in the process. So I'm good. I'm done.
Word. Pastor.
All right, so here's my thoughts, because I'm kind of in the same vein as Jonathan. The thing that I was thinking of when you asked this question is the fact that we are not socialized to be vulnerable. And here's what I mean. Like, I was a very sensitive kid, right? So growing up, felt a lot of emotions, still feel them all the time, right? But I felt a lot of emotions. And what was I told? Man up, stop, whatever. Right. So we're not socialized to be vulnerable. We're socialized to be strong, to be coarse, to be hard, to basically be like unmovable, like a rock. You know how many times I hear, that man is strong like a rock, right? We're socialized to be strong. We're not socialized to cry. We're not socialized to be soft. Even the word soft, you think about the connotation of the word soft in the hood, like that's like unacceptable. That's like an actual,
insult.
Yeah, it's an insult, right? You're not allowed to be soft. You're not allowed to cry, and the only feelings that we've been socialized to accept without any question is anger and rage, right? So when I see specifically, like when I'm talking about my second graders, right? A lot of the boys, they might come into school and they're just sad because they miss their dad, and it comes out as rage and it comes out as anger because they have not felt the opportunity to be okay with just crying, or they have not felt the opportunity to be okay with just feeling sad, just feeling those emotions. So we're not allowed to be vulnerable because vulnerability means weakness. If somebody's soft, then you can take advantage of them, you can beat them up, all of that stuff, right? So being vulnerable means weakness. And then weakness means I lose your respect. And then losing your respect, now I'm talking to the ladies, like losing your respect means now I don't feel loved. I'm thinking back to, once again, that scripture in Ephesians where it talks about like the very last, like at the end of the chapter, it says, husbands, wives, respect your husbands, right? I lose that respect. I'm not getting what I need from this relationship. You know what I mean? So when you ask us to be vulnerable, there's a huge domino effect that we might not even be consciously thinking about, but we're afraid of. We're afraid of being vulnerable because that's not what we've been socialized to do. So going back to my man Jonathan's point, like, yeah, when you're asking us to be vulnerable, first, like, bro, please make sure that you are putting yourself as the lady in a position to actually support us through that vulnerability. And if you have a problem with your man being vulnerable and crying and feeling emotions, then you really need to second guess whether or not you want to ask him to be vulnerable. Because I saw this on TikTok too. It's like if I'm vulnerable and I tell you that I'm not okay, then you might throw that back in my face later. Can I trust you with this information? You know, like I think of how many, like think of a slumber party. You thought of a slumber party and it was all ladies. We don't have slumber parties as guys where we sit around and talk about our feelings. I might sleep over a bro's house when I was younger and play PS4 until 4 in the morning, but we weren't talking about life. We weren't talking about feelings because that's not how we were socialized. So when you ask us to be vulnerable, just know that that's going to be difficult because that's not what we were taught. Giving us the space to actually feel it, giving us the grace, like my bro said, giving us the grace to actually kind of work through that stuff is going to be important. That's the end of my statement.
No word, bro. Yo, honestly, I feel like we are on one accord on this topic, because my answer, first of all, I think it's the same as yours, Chris. Right? And like, if you're going, a lot of women say things like, oh, they want their man to be more emotional. They want their man to talk to them, to be vulnerable, right? As a woman, you got to ask yourself, can you handle that? Right? Can you handle me being emotional, right? Because I think, like we said before, women are visionaries, right? Like they envision things how they're supposed to be, right? So when a woman says, I want you to be more vulnerable and more emotional, in her head, she probably has an idea of what that's supposed to look like, right? In reality, it's probably not gonna come out that way, right? And then also, you know, most women operate in a way where, you know, if they're with a man in any capacity, they want to feel protected, right? Whatever that protection may fall under, whether it's emotional protection, financial, mental, whatever, right? So as men, we are expected to be strong in the category that she needs her protection in, right? Me being vulnerable, me being emotional with you puts me in a state where I'm presented as weak, right? And the truth is, like, as humans, we are not strong all the time. We are going to be weak at times, right? But as men, we do a good job at portraying strength even when we are really weak in the moment, right? And so I feel like, and what has pushed me back personally is that I've seen women go back and say things like, oh, he's such a B word, right? Like, he's so soft. Like, he's always complaining, oh my God, right? And, you know, I won't be that guy, right? Because when you ask me, when I am finally vulnerable, when I am finally emotional, know that when I break down, I'm not just breaking down for what just happened. I'm breaking down for what I've been holding in for the past 6 months. So when I'm down, I'm really down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really down, right? Can you handle, you know, seeing me cry? And can you handle seeing me cry like a little kid, right? Which I've been through in the past, right? Like, can you handle me not being strong momentarily? Can you handle my type of issues, the issues that I deal with on a daily basis, right? Because the truth is, the same way certain things about women seem crazy to us, like, why would you care about that? It's the same way certain things about us might, you know, that women might feel like, oh, that's weird, right? But you know, even if you don't understand it, just understand that I'm feeling a certain type of way about it, right? And like you said, right, if I am vulnerable, don't pick at my vulnerability, right? Like, I was with a young lady, you know what I mean, in the past, where, you know, she kind of forced my vulnerability out of me a little too soon. She wanted an answer to a question that I was not ready to provide, and she just kept poking at it every day. Just kept poking at it, like, Like she nagged me, right? Like the same way that Delilah did to Santa. She nagged it out of me, right? And so finally I was vulnerable and I said what I said, you know, and in my mind, it's a big deal, right? She definitely handled it way better than I expected her to in the moment, right? Which is good, right? But then later on, we were having a conversation, and I feel like she made a slick comment about that particular vulnerability, right? And it happened quick, and I was like, "What?" You said she was like, "What? Nothing." And I didn't address it, whatever. But in that very moment, I backed off. Like I backed up, right? And my desire to be vulnerable was just not there anymore, right? And it transcended to everything. Like I was not showing my new songs anymore. I was not, right? If I get asked how I felt, I'll be like, I'm good. I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like it had to be something very serious for me to like really address it. So so my point for all that is like, yo, again, ladies, I say this because women have a way with words, right? A lot of women, they know that they're not physically stronger than us. So when it comes to like, the battles, they cut us down with their tongue, right? And a woman's words, like a woman is the strongest voice in our ears, right? So I often say, ladies, when you're saying stuff like, my man ain't ish, my man's a bum, he lazy, he that, how can you expect them to ever get better? Right? Like you're literally like you're prophesying like your present, like you're speaking into him, right? That because he's playing video games all day and you wish that he wasn't, you're calling him names, and then you're expecting that by calling him names, right? He's going to magically just get up and get a job, right? When in reality, like, we self-care in different ways, and those video games might be an escape for whatever trauma that he is dealing with. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, so that's my take on it. Emmanuel, did you have something to say?
I'm piggybacking on what Sammy said, right? For me, like, I'm very sensitive, you know, so that's how, I gained my whole thing. So I remember it was about a couple months ago. I was doing a project for a friend of mine that's a female. So I'm 95% done the project, and then she tells me in like a voicemail chat to go to hell. So I'm thinking like, what is this girl on? So, I didn't say nothing. I waited for 2 days, and then, I told her about how I felt about it. And then, long story short, she told me, oh, that was too sensitive. And I was like, what? So that really hurt my spirit. So, yeah.
Not word, bro. Yeah, like, and some women just can't, like, as men, like, when we express ourselves, like, we often get told that we are too soft, right? And then
Yeah.
they wonder, we get asked, why don't we speak up more? Why aren't we vulnerable more? Because, we are afraid to be vulnerable. It's a weakness, right? So, but we need our safe space, right? And if you're a woman and you want your man to be vulnerable, check yourself and see, can you be a safe space for him? Are you ready for him to, be a baby in your arms
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those few moments? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I feel
Uh,
like that's one of my biggest fears that I had. Like, if I'm like too vulnerable, I feel like how's she gonna react to this, or how's she gonna react to when I'm crying, or stressed, or this. So it's like a tug of war for me,
word.
But
100%.
but
Uh-huh.
but also, ladies, this is important as well. When you make the decision to allow, your man to be open and vulnerable. You say you want him to be a safe space. Let him open up the way that he's comfortable opening up. I feel like, and this is the problem that I had in the past, is that when the person that I was with, shall remain nameless, um, wanted me to open up. It said, yeah, I'm ready for you to open up, be a safe space. But she expected me to like open up a certain way. But understand that whoever you're with, whoever you're dating, even if you don't know how they're open up, when you say I'm willing to accept and be a safe space, then you have to be ready for whatever.
Mhm.
Because like this is unfiltered, like this is just safe space is like, and this is even why, even when it comes to therapy, and I won't make it about therapy, but this is even why I'm so picky when it comes to therapists, is that I want to be able to say like, okay, right now our session starts, this is the first minute it starts, and we got 60 minutes or whatever the case is. I need any and everything that I say needs to go, because I don't even know how I'm going to say it. Obviously, I'm not going to be disrespectful with like how I'm talking to you. I'm not going to be like too vulgar, but don't expect me to open up a certain way, because now I'm closed again. I'm just like a turtle, you know what I mean? And it's funny because I have a turtle. So if I'm holding her, right, it's like the size of like both my hands. But if I'm holding her, um, if I stay still for a second, her arms would start to like, one arm would start to like reach out. And
Mhm.
if I touch my finger too fast to touch her arm, she just pull it back. And now like both her arms and her legs are back in the shell, in the head. But the moment she starts getting comfortable, she starts opening up. And I think that, understand, the moment you say yes, be ready for whatever. Because it's like, and Sammy, how you said, is just like, sometimes video games, it might be something that is healing, for that person. But it's like, if you want your man to go somewhere, you want him to get to the next destination in the spot. Like if you're just like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I would always look I would always look at her and be like, you rushing me is not making me go any faster. Like it's not helping. You're not helping, you know? So but and the thing is like, even when Kevin Hart said this in the stand up, he's like, yo, help me help you. And you make it make sense. Like help me help you. Because it's like, you want, and I remember even when Jordan was telling his, I don't know if you guys saw The Last Dance, but parts of The Last Dance, and even when Jordan was doing this Hall of Fame speech, he said he didn't like the fact that the people in the front office was like, the office, or the front office, whatever, wins the championships. And he's like, I didn't see the front office putting on the Bulls jersey and playing with the flu. I didn't see them going out on the floor and doing this work. And it doesn't make the players more important than the front office, or the front office more important than the players. But the point is that if you want your man to be a safe space, you have to create an environment that is conducive for him to be his best. If I have toxic players in a toxic locker room in a city that can't win, and a coach that doesn't know how to coach players, then you can't expect me to be the type of player to lead you to a championship. You need to
Mm.
create the environment that's good enough
Mhm.
for me to be like, okay, you asking me to be the man and take the ball and take the last shot every single night and drop 50 a game. I could do that. But you got to get me some players that can help me. You got to get me a coach that knows how to coach me. You got to get me to a front office that'll like, but don't be surprised with demands or some of the stuff that you hear if you're asking that person to do so much. It goes both ways, because the worst thing that a man can do is just not be vulnerable and not be open about what he's going through, and he'll just collapse. And it's just like, oh, what happened? I didn't even know that was. Be ready. Be ready for Unfiltered. Be ready for everything. Because if you love him, and also opening up, that's a sign of love. like sometimes certain women are just like, well, what are you gonna do? What are you doing for me that shows that like you love me? He's doing it now. Opening up, like, it's not easy. It really is not easy. You know, you ever been in a space sometimes like you really want to say something, but you said nothing because you didn't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it needs to come out. You know what I mean? So I think being ready for whenever, you know what I mean, being understanding when it does, and hold no expectation. When you're getting ready, and I always tell the kids this, I was like, when you're listening, don't listen how you want to listen. Just open your ears and just hear what you're saying. You can hear it and then process it the way you want to process it, but you cannot tell someone how you want them to speak while they're speaking. Let it all come out, and then you process it and make it make sense for you. But while it's coming out, just listen, because I need you to understand me. And if you don't allow me to unleash the way that I need to unleash, then we'll never get anywhere. You'll be asking me to do too much with too high of a burden. I'm not Jesus. As much as I would like to be, I'm not Jesus. But I know how to go to him, but I need to be in an environment that's conducive to me being the player that you're asking me to be. Because at the end of the day, I love you. I love where we're at. I love this team. I love this city. And I want to bring you a championship. And I want to do my best to make sure that everything that you want, I can get that and more. But you need to ride with me. And part of that is sometimes being quiet and letting me express myself the way I need to express myself. So that's it.
Word.
That's
100%. Feel me? I want to bring you a championship, and you know what comes with a championship, right? A ring. Yo, but I thank y'all for joining in with me today. I want to thank all of my panelists. Feel me? I'm gonna put their social medias in the bio so you guys can go over and follow them. Again, my boy Chris Lilley is a poet. He has spoken words all over the YouTubes. My boy Jonathan has a book out. Is a dope speaker, and my boy Emmanuel is a graphic designer. I see the book. And my man Emmanuel is a graphic designer. If you need some logos, some designs, hit them up. I'm going to put their links in the descriptions in the bio, so check them out. Also, I myself also have some merch out that you guys could go ahead and copy. You guys can support by going on www.kingmerch.org. And also, guys, if you like anything that you heard today, please press like and subscribe. That will help us to increase in the algorithms. But again, we thank you guys for watching. Thank you again for all my panelists. We are going to log off, but I love y'all and be blessed.